Hello and welcome to the first inaugural webinar of GetCast Now with me, Bruce Faulk, and Caroline Aimetti, who is the queen of all things GetCast Now. Let's just face it.
I love it.
And our very special guest, Savvy Jones. I thank you very much for joining us. And we're going to jump right into this and be pretty free form, talking to Savvy, talking to Caroline, answering any questions for anyone that asks any. And then I'll probably talk about me a little bit, but more importantly, let's talk about the business and other people working in it. All right, so off we go. Savvy Jones.
Yes,
Hello,
absolutely. Hi, how's it
welcome.
going?
Good, it's going good. Savvy, you were a student of mine at NYU just a few short years ago, and
Yeah.
took my audition tech class. Let's talk about what you've been doing these days and what you've done since then.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
savvy,
All
all
savvy
the
time.
time.
Yeah, so since NYU, I actually wound up discovering an art form that I didn't consider while I was in school, but I've fallen in love with, which is the gaming industry, which I think I really want a lot of actors that are especially starting out or haven't thought about it, think about gaming because it's so wide open. It's also so open for women right now, which is great. So I kind of fell into it accidentally. I started as another good survival job that a lot of actors have. I know everyone does the serving, the babysitting, but I also found one that a lot of actors do, which is the escape room hosting. So it's
Oh
a lot
yeah,
of fun.
yeah,
It's great, honestly, very good
yeah,
survival job when stuff is
yeah.
open in the world, because often there are a lot of ones that you can be in character. So I found
Right.
one of those. So it was acting, but also very flexible. And that one was called Clue Chase, which I love. And worked my way up there, then wound up doing a lot of management there and some design work for them, like with game design. And then now I work at a company full-time called Confetti, which is an events company, but I am in charge of their entire games department. So that is what I do now while still, auditioning and acting and still doing the stuff on the side. But now I'm in a
Wow,
different creative industry.
yeah, that sounds like a big job.
Yeah.
Let me dig
Yeah.
in just one second with the what you spoke about before. Can you get your equity card from hosting the gaming things? No, okay. No,
You
because I know
can.
back in the day there was Tony and Tina's wedding and all those sort of
Mhm.
theme
Oh,
that still
yeah.
exist, I'm sure, post-pandemic.
Yes.
But there was a big thing in equity a long time ago to make sure that those got you Jekyll and Hyde, even the theme restaurants.
Yes.
That you got your equity card. So I
Oh, that's
wondered if it was
great.
the same
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
It's not. What I would say it's a great thing for is if you want a job that's creative and that you get to, I mean, you have to find the right ones. But I
Mhm.
would say if you find the ones that are very immersive and in world, then like you can have a character while you're at work, which kind of, you know, is fulfilling more so than I think some survival jobs. They're also incredibly flexible. So they have a lot of part-time
Mhm.
positions. So you can, and the hours are very open because like people aren't going to escape rooms mostly in the morning. So, you can have a night gig when you have morning auditions, or you can easily be
Yeah.
like, I need this Wednesday off for a shoot, which I did a lot.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
and
cool.
even working, you can also find like full-time work there and still act, which is great. Because you can, take off random weekdays to go do acting jobs.
Nice,
So it's a
nice.
good survival job.
I want to dig in a little bit to like the stuff that I taught in class and how you use it today, either 4 hours a week or a networking sheet or anything from class that I taught to you back in the
Absolutely.
day that has helped you in your continuing career.
Well, absolutely. One, the networking sheet is great because it can be so easy with how many faces you're meeting all the time, especially when you're
Mhm.
trying to meet agents and management. It's so easy to forget. Suddenly at first when you say like track everyone, the first couple ones you track, you're thinking, oh, I'm never going to forget this person. And then suddenly it's been years and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many people. And
Mhm.
nothing is worse than when you go into something and say, nice to meet you. And they're like, I've met you. That is an immediate way to just not get any response back after that. That's the moment, like, especially now being in a position where I've hired a lot of actors into roles, like the moment something like that happens, I'm like, well, I can't hire you. Like, I can't do that. And so, you know, that, and also I think what's great is that you really taught us to really like do your homework on stuff, and like don't go into an audition with, you know, questions that you should have been able to answer on your own. Good questions are great. Like go into those auditions with really intelligent and thought out questions. But I think what's great for, you know, even that people can take from this kind of coursework with you, just not even very specifically related to acting, but like in interviewing, trying to get jobs to like actually feed yourself and pay your rent while you're trying to act in New York. It's really important. And you want to make sure that,
otherwise
like,
known as my day job career for many years. Yes.
you have to, you have to. Like, that's the thing is the thing is, you know, you need to have your immediate needs met before you can be a good artist, because you not, you know, and of course that's to say there's a lot of good artists that are very much struggling, and that's not like dependent on your art, but like you need to baseline, like be able to focus on like making sure that you can just meet your immediate baseline needs. And with that, sometimes that's not going to be with acting for you. So it's like, you know, you have to find those jobs, find ones that are fulfilling to you, and like also interview well. And so, you know, learning how to audition well carries over to being, you know, totally kick-ass in interviews. So a lot of actors interview very well. So you can even use this for that. And also there was another thing that I wanted to specifically say. There was one that was like my favorite one, and I haven't brought it up yet. What was it? It'll probably come back to me.
Did it have something to do with the hair color change?
No, it's not.
Because we were talking about your hair before we started recording, because we love your hair.
Not the hair color change, though. I will say, being more in the design realm, I've been able to do a lot more crazy stuff with my hair and appearance. But that is to say, it's important to note when you change your hair, you get different part offerings. So that's good to keep in mind. I get called in for much like edgier, like funky roles than like the, you know, I don't know. It changes everything. I mean, I noticed the change too when I went from like blonde to red. The roles were very different. But
you're
yes,
so
actually,
fully you. I mean, you were when we were in class, you know, back when you were a senior in college, you were so fully grounded in being you that whatever changes you've made, you know, red hair, blue hair, pink hair, living here, living there, you've always been fully you, which I think is like amazing. I've always liked that. That's
Thank
why
you so much.
I met you as a blonde when we were freshmen, and yeah, I think that is so true. Like you like that person is still you. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so nice. That was honestly made my day. I'm gonna write down that you both said that later and keep it in my little I keep a little journal of like when people say things that make me happy, and I look back on it when I'm feeling not happy. And so another thing before I forget that I think about with your class a lot is that I think you also teach efficiency in your prep work for auditions, which is really important when especially after you graduate and like you don't have all of the time to just focus on your acting, is that you can take on more auditions because like your prep work is streamlined and set so that you know exactly what you need to do, exactly what you need to get ready. And so from your class, I went from before, when I would prep for an audition, I would just like run it 500 times because I was so like nervous and like, oh, the only way to prep for this is I need to run it so many times. But with a lot of the work that you teach, it's like, no, you need to prepare well and then let go. So you can just, again, like you were saying, be yourself. You know, no one wants you to come in and just be, you know, the kind of cutout of the character. It's like, what's you in that role, so that as you're changing characters like hair color, I say that because it sounds like this was planned, and it's not. I'm just like relating it to the hair color you just said, because it is like, it's like things change, your characters change, but you always want it to be you a bit, because otherwise like they can hire anyone.
Right, bringing the full savvy to the role. My wife was watching the latest Miss Julie, and you know, we've all seen Miss Julie 400 times or done it maybe a couple of times, and it's interesting to see how people bring themselves to a role. That's what's cool. Savvy as Miss Julie is cool. The idea of the cookie cutter Miss Julie,
exactly.
I kind of saw that.
Yeah, one of the best, a note that I got a while ago in like I forget what the class was, but someone said like, can you try doing this scene the way that I just saw you like talking to your friends next to the bathroom? I'm like, yeah. You know, stuff like that where you think, you know, oh, I have to do my idea of the character instead of just like, who am I as a person?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
doing all the prep work to get all that stuff out of the way, getting the line off the page, being in a state of
Yes.
being, the environment.
Well, because
knowing
that's
who
the thing.
are
You have to do
and
the
all
prep
that.
work because you can't just wing it and be yourself. That's gonna just make you
Right.
look like a mess.
Well, that's and
Yeah.
it's the difference between a professional and an amateur, right?
Yeah, that's not
Amateurs can walk in once in a while and crush it.
Yes.
Professionals do it 8 times a week at 8 o'clock.
Mhm.
That's the
Mhm.
difference, right?
Yeah, you don't want your positive audition to be just a fluke. Like you want it to be like, oh yes, this came from my preparation and my work.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's it, Savvy. You're wonderful. We love hearing from you.
I love you guys too.
I know you have a big busy life and job, and so enjoy
Thank you.
moving to Princeton and come back and see us again and again.
I will. It's not too far. But yeah, thank you both. Enjoy the rest of this class here. And I hope it goes well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
again,
you both
Savvy.
so much. Bye.
Bye. Yay, Savvy.
Oh, Sav. Yay.
All right, Caroline, you are up. Let's talk about you and your experience. You are also a student I had at NYU a while ago, and obviously have grown in a lot of different ways in a few different careers. One of which, shameless plug, is being a producer and marketing manager, specifically for social media, I think, for this and other venues. So I love that you do that as well. So let's talk about the 4 hours a week that you use, that I taught in my class, and hopefully is giving you some value going forward.
Yeah, well, you know, it ties right into my day jobs because I work a couple of different ones, and I have to have I've got a lot of cooks in the kitchen in my mind at once. And so I really need to budget my time. And I find that when I don't use that 4-hour model and don't use the networking sheet to keep my contacts and who I need to contact organized, I have this voice in the back of my mind all the time that's like, you should be doing this. Like, you're working on your day job right now, but think about all of these acting related things that you're not doing right now. Like, what are you going to do? And so for me, for me, what I do is I set aside 1 hour out of 4 weekdays. So like, it's totally manageable. And so for me, so for the first part of the 4 hours, like having your accountability buddy, I really doubled down on that at the beginning of this year, like in January. And so every Monday at 5:30, one of my friends, I met her, you know, at a class at one-on-one, and we like really hit it off there. And so we talk at 5:30 every Monday, like no excuses.
Nice.
It doesn't matter where I am, like, because we talk on the phone, so you don't have to Zoom. So we get on the phone at 5:30, and it's once you commit to it, I can't even explain the value, because she was the perfect partner for me, because she is very cool, confident, and it's just like, just do it. So she was bugging me for a few weeks when I had brought up, I'm like, yeah, there's, you know, this agent that I had been in contact with, and she's at a new agency, and I don't know if I should say something because she's new there. And she was like, can you please send the email? And I did. And now that agent is sending me out on auditions. And so
nice.
Sometimes like, as much as I like to believe that I can, you know, give myself my own push, like sometimes you just need the outside force. So that has like been key for me.
And from a peer too, from somebody who's going through it the same way. Like hearing it from me, your teacher sitting in a chair back here, is one thing, but living it with somebody else who's going through it with you is great. It's great.
Yeah. And it was great to like, that's why, you know, sometimes I think those, you know, sometimes those like one-on-one classes, when you're going to them all the time, they can get a little like disheartening. But if you're also there to like meet other people who are working, and to meet friends, to meet peers, it becomes a much better experience. And so like, we really connected on that in the program of like, we had a similar work ethic. So yeah, that worked out great. And then, so then songs and monologues is one of the other hours. And that for me is the number one thing that I like, stress about in the back of my mind all the time. Like I should be, maybe every day I should be going over this. Like, but then when I have the set hour, I can clear it from my mind for the rest of the week. And then when it's time for the hour, I put everything else away and I like go into my room. And so my project lately with songs and monologues has been finding new monologues. I mean, there's like no better time than now. My stuff that I was using at EPA's I've been using it since college. So it's time. So right now my hour is focused more on finding new material, but in other times, like at the beginning of the pandemic, it was just like, let me make sure I know these in case we're going to go back into this any day now. And honestly, from setting aside that 1 hour for monologues and songs for a while, and you helped me with this actually, I found some of like our old coaching emails. And one of my things that I was possibly going to do was to put together a musical theater demo reel.
I remember that.
Yeah. And I've been putting it off and I was like, I'm not ready. Like, I don't know what songs to pick. And then just setting aside the hour and being like, okay, by the end of the hour, like pick 2 songs, you can do that. And I did, and I got the demo recorded. So yeah, it's just sticking it into the hour is, maybe it's my personality, but it's key for me to be able to tune out the noise of like the million other things that we have going on. And being able to like stay a regular person and be like, okay, today when I'm done with my day job, I did my stuff, I set aside my hour, and now I can like be a person for a little while. And that has been so helpful for me.
I don't think it's your personality, because this has worked for a lot of people. And, I didn't make this stuff up. I just focused it for actors. It's just taking a certain amount of time focusing on one thing. And you're, like you said, with the demo reel, like if you just do that for a little while, then you come out, after a month, whatever time it is, you come out with a finished product. It's brilliant.
Oh my gosh. And it felt like such a weight lifted off, because I had just been letting that sit on the to-do list for so long that it was the best feeling. It was the best.
Cool.
Yeah, in terms of networking, I'm like updating my networking sheet right now. And just like taking some time to figure out, especially like in the midst of the pandemic, how to approach conversations with people when some things still are like closed and things are slow and no one knows what's happening. Just like taking time to really, I took one of those hours the other week just to sit there and be like, okay, if someone was talking to me about networking right now, like what would I want to hear? What would feel like not genuine to me and what would feel good to hear? So yeah, that's been interesting in this time period too. I actually checked back again from my networking sheet from when you were coaching me like 3 years ago. And yeah, exactly what Savvy said. I was looking at it and I was like, I was in contact with that person at that theater. I don't remember that at all. I'm like, I should remind them that I exist, because it feels so important to you, because you're like, this is a contact at a theater I want to work at. And then you forget. So imagine how many people they meet.
Right.
And there's no way that they're going to remember you if you don't remind them. So yeah.
And you remind them as, the working actor with one of 3 or 4 things to say, and boom, you're back in. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just really helped me. It's just really helped me keep my sanity more than anything. Yeah. Just like, especially right now during the pandemic, of being like, you can kind of say to yourself, well, there's nothing to do right now. But when you put it into those 4 categories, there's always something to be doing. And so I don't feel stagnant right now. I feel like when everything really comes back, I'm in a good spot to just kind of pick up where I left off.
Cool. And what about the 4th hour, writing or creating your own work?
Oh, I was trying to avoid that one because that's
I couldn't resist. We're talking about 4 hours and we only talked about 3, so we weren't going to get away with it.
Well, some of it now, in terms of creating your own work, I moved forward with a podcast. Me and my roommate have been holding on to this idea for a while. We moved forward with that. We have the podcast. We've been going for like a year now. But I jumped back into writing from like a narrative perspective, just to like ease my way into it, and like submitted a piece to just like an online like blog website to kind of warm up. But yeah, I have a piece of paper in one of my journals that's literally all of my ideas for the stuff I'm going to write. And it's sitting there.
And there it is.
So I guess what you're saying is that this week my 4th hour should be like actually writing a scene for one of those.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Writing is hard. Writing and creating your own work is actually the hardest one. That's the one that we all trip over.
Yep.
Like most people that I talk to, that's the one we trip over. If you can get in the habit of doing 15 minutes, like start with 15 minutes and move it forward and just keep it consistent. I wrote a book in in lockdown. So
God.
yeah, no, but a novel. It has nothing to do with acting. It has nothing to do. I wanted to write a book. I wrote a book.
So cool.
Only because I did it half an hour a day, every day for a
Mhm.
couple of months. Then it was a book. It was done.
I will say another great piece of advice I actually got from my accountability buddy was she's great. I mean, really, that's so key, is like pick the right person, because she's picked up on my stuff so quickly. And I was talking about, I was like, I think I'm gonna, write something and submit it to this blog. And she's like, you know what I think you should try? I think you should try to write it in an hour and submit it at the end of the hour. And I was like, no way. Like, I have to sit there with it and like edit it and like make sure it's check back the next
to
day.
get over the editing demon. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, or to check back on it the next day and be like, this isn't silly, right? I wasn't in some weird mood where this, like, nobody wants to read this.
Right.
But I did it because, again, she's really holds me to it, and it ended up getting published on the website. So there you go. It's another great lesson in just doing it and stop editing yourself along the way, which is such a great thing to remember for acting too. So yeah, it's all connected. It's good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I think we're done. I didn't even mention to Savvy that we were recording this. You obviously know that we're recording this.
Yeah.
Okay, and Savvy knew, so just want to make sure legally that we can post this. What else do we have to talk about? We have a little business of the business, right?
We do. Yeah, I have a couple of interesting updates that have come recently. So everybody probably knows about this in New York, that live performance venues are going to be allowed to open at a smaller capacity. So I got an interesting email from Equity today. So in New York City, it's called like the Open Culture Program, where they're going to have the pop-up live performances. And so interestingly, Equity sent out an email that was like, please contact an equity representative before you take any positions in this, because apparently this is operating through a city permit, and the permit isn't requiring COVID testing or like a living wage or workers' comp or anything like that. So definitely, if you're in the union, keep an eye out for that. But I think one of the biggest openings in terms of live performance is Lincoln Center is going to be starting in April with 10 outdoor venues. There's one that's like cabaret style. There's one that's going to be like a family performance center. So, and the stuff will be live streamed. So there are things happening.
That's great.
Yeah. And then in terms of SAG members, you told me about this. There's two really cool webinars that they're hosting. And so one of them is called The Attention Economy, How the Next Generation is Reclaiming Its Attention and What It Means for Entertainment and Brands.
Yeah. And you don't have to be a SAG member to join these, by the way.
Yes. Oh, I didn't know that. So there you go. That's cool, because that's obviously going to talk about TikTok, which I'm still getting the hang of that. And then there's one about taxes, which I didn't know I could attend these. So actually, I think I'm going to do that one.
Yeah.
In terms of like itemizing deductions for performers.
Go to an accountant. Here's my go to an accountant, please.
I agree. I was just going to be honest and say that I pay somebody to help me with mine every year, because
please.
I itemize, and it's
yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I know we all try to TurboTax ourselves or whatever, and I did it for years. And then I went to accountant, paid them, and saved money. Yeah. Go to an accountant. I just want to jump in with the live performances and equity and the COVID testing and so on and so forth. I was working yesterday on the shoot with HBO, the Gossip Girl show. Yes. And yay. And that's a so big fat production, with millions of dollars and lots of stuff. But the main thing is that it's union, and we're all protected. The grips, the camera people, the actors, everybody is protected. We're all COVID testing. We're all distancing. but also there's these things called residuals that happen in actors' lives. You've heard of them, I'm sure. That's how you actually make your money as an actor. You don't make it from the couple thousand you make on the day. You make it from the tens of thousands if the show runs forever, right? Jennifer Aniston never has to work another day in her life, not because of the millions of dollars she gets paid to do movies now, but because of the reruns of Friends. She could literally never work again from that, and anybody in a 6-foot radius from her. So just another plug, because I'm big on that. Work union, don't work non-union, please. For me, do it. All right. I think we are running out of time for this one, but we got a lot in there, right, Caroline? Did I miss anything?
No. It's usually Q&A time, but lucky for me, I can email you with questions anytime. So that's how we'll get people to come on. Then you can ask questions in this part of the webinar. So next time.
That's right. That's right. Well, we have some other guests coming up, definitely. So we'll put these up and people can learn from them there. And I think that's it. Thank you very much again for starting us off on our inaugural episode.
Yay, first episode. Thank you. This is great.
Thanks.